A very warm good morning, one and all. It's been over a year since all of us have found recluse in our homes under the impacts of the pandemic. It has definitely sparked concern in all of us on the uncertainty of our future in higher education, given this present situation. However, the bright side of this pandemic is that we have all found ways to work, learn, and get connected with people via virtual sessions like these. So I hope you're all staying safe and make the best of this session. It is every student's dream to pursue their graduate degree from places that cater education on a more facilitative level, like the US. The benefits of having access to premium academic education from reputed universities, state-of-the-art facilities, and to obtain guidance of professors with academic resources is enough to attract millions of graduates every year to study abroad. But the tedious and confusing admission process and the lack of know-how make them reluctant to go further. So the IEEE Robotics and Automation Society student branches of Government Engineering College, Thrissur, College of Engineering, Trivandrum, and MES College of Engineering, in association with IEEE RAS Kerala chapter, have found a solution for all our aspiring graduates in robotics and automation to establish a comfortable path for their ambition in the domain of robotics and automation. We introduce 𝗧𝗲, Higher Education in Robotics and Automation, the best place to clarify all your doubts regarding higher studies in the domain of robotics and automation. Following today's agenda of events, I would like to first invite the chairperson of IEEE RAS Kerala chapter, Dr. 𝗚𝗚 to welcome the attendees of the session.
Thank you, Karthik. I hope I am audible.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
So, a very warm greetings from RAS Kerala chapter. See, as the chair of RAS chapter, IEEE Kerala section, I'm very pleased to be here for the launch of 𝗧𝗲, the Higher Education Robotics event by RAS chapter, jointly coordinated with CET, GECT, and MES Kuttipuram. So we have been coordinating a couple of events in the domain of robotics and automation this year with the support of our vibrant student team. We are getting overwhelming responses too for these events. And this year we have started a series titled Robotics and Automation Leaders Symposium, which are technical talks from experts in this domain. And another series called 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 the field of robotics and automation. And with the support of our 𝗚𝗚𝗂𝗵, chairs of all RAS SBs, faculty advisors and student team, we are globally the largest IEEE RAS chapter. So all credits to the RAS members of Kerala section. And we are trying to create unique identity for RAS members across Kerala with wide variety of events and to encourage and support the students for taking up projects for social cause. So with the support of our 𝗚𝗚𝗂𝗵, student leaders and SB leads of all RAS chapters, I'm sure that we'll be able to achieve these goals. So we have been planning for this event, this particular event, a couple of months back, based on the feedback from our members, RAS members. So there were many queries that in which semester one should start preparation. So does CGPA matter, or will publications help, or will I be able to afford my studies abroad, etc. So we thought of having a session mainly concentrating on admission in US universities as the first session. So as it is supposed to have more preparations than other universities. And the evening, former and current students from various universities across the globe will be participating in the panel discussion. So we have 2 sessions for this event here. And I request all of you to fully make use of this opportunity. Now let me move on to the official duty of welcoming this August gathering. First, let me welcome the resource person for today's session, Mr. Gokul Krishnan, who is pursuing masters at Carnegie Mellon University, USA. And he did his undergraduation in electrical and electronics engineering from College of Engineering, Trivandrum in 2018. And he has worked for 3 years at ABB as an associate project engineer, working on flexible AC transmission systems in power quality business. On behalf of IEEE RAS Kerala chapter and everyone present here, I extend a warm welcome to Mr. Gokul Krishnan. And then we have one more person to support us, Dr. 𝗵𝗂𝗶𝘂𝗵𝗍𝗔 Sebastian, who has completed PhD in mechanical engineering from Virginia Tech, US. Currently, he's working as a product owner at Top Robotics, Blacksburg, Virginia. And he's also a university rank holder from Kerala University for his BTech studies. And he was also a junior research fellow at Surface Robotics Lab at CSIR, West Bengal. So I should say that he's an experienced person in robotics. So it's my pleasure to extend a hearty welcome to you too, Dr. 𝗵𝗂𝗶𝘂𝗵𝗍𝗔 Sebastian. So a gracious welcome to all my colleagues in the 𝗚𝗘𝗂𝗂, student leadership team, RAS chairs and faculty advisors, of GEC Thrissur, College of Engineering Trivandrum and MES Kuttipuram, and other RAS SB leaders. So let me extend a grand welcome to all the participants in this session too. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Next, I welcome the Vice Chairman of IEEE RAS Kerala Chapter, Engineer Robin Tommy, to deliver the felicitation address.
Yeah, thank you so much for inviting me, Karthik. Thank you, Disha ma'am. So it is, I think it's a wonderful session planning and going towards this particular initiative. As all of us know, we do have multiple paths that we take once we start the journey after deciding what we do in our bachelor's. Some of us plan to go for a job. Some of us plan to excel our skills. Moreover, I would say we try to go into a specific vertical, because now horizontally, all your education, as you see, you have done with multiple things. Your BTech has given you a lot of insights into the horizontals of the world. Multiple subjects have been through, you have gone through multiple core areas, what needs to be learned, like the mechanics. If you are an electronics student, you go through the core of electronics. If you're a computer science student, you go through a lot of computer related courses, software programming. Now it is time for you to decide whether you want to do some kind of a job and get an experience, or you go for a very specific skill set so that you sharpen the skill set and start contributing to the industry or search or whatever that comes in your way. So this session is really important in making that decision. Not only that decision, I would say it's a long-term a commitment for what we want to be and what we want to overall create impact in the larger society and what you need to create. Now, as Disha ma'am was specifically saying, there is always certain aspects that we look from a larger or a long-term perspective. So one aspect of it is, as we have mentioned, like going into a very fine, broader area. But today's speakers, what I was just looking at the profile and stuff, one from CMU and one from Virginia Tech. So it's really, I'm really proud and I'm really happy that we could get eminent speakers today. And with the help of CET, we have the Thrissur, GEC, and also we have one of the most important colleges, that's the MES college, the student volunteers who have helped us in creating this venue for the larger RAS society in Kerala, along with the student branches and everyone, the volunteers and people who have taken a lot of pain in arranging this session. Because this session is really important, because during our period of time, if I say almost like 20 years back, when I joined the industry, there was no such platform. I never knew what to do. But when I started my career, so I thought, okay, fine, what to do next? I'll just go and do something because I wanted to stay in electronics. So I got an admission in the National University of Singapore, and I went for a microelectronic course. But later on, look, today I do a lot of work in the wafer side as well as in the core electronic side and the robotics side. But I felt like I should have done the course a bit more later, is what that came to me. Okay, that's what, these are the decisions. Or because your masters, you're not going to do masters every time. It's 1 or 2 max in your entire lifetime. So make the decision at the right time. Here to the experts is what I would say. This is a real great opportunity. I'm really proud that we have CMU here because I have one lab in CMU. My lab is also there, and Virginia Tech specifically because I usually travel to the area of Washington and all, and I'll be there in the next few months in US to be there. So really proud to associate with both of you, and thank you so much to the entire student branches and the enthusiastic team behind this entire show, creating this impact, and to the leadership, Disha ma'am, for arranging this, because it's a call that we have got from you, every one of you. So we wanted to make sure that we do it, and even I am also learning a lot of things here. So it's great. Thank you so much for inviting, and also thank you and thanks to the entire, I would say, this team who has made this happen, and Gokul Krishna for your time for today's session. And I think that's it. Let's make sure we ask questions, relevant questions, and we get all the information that needs to be passed into the larger and make the right decision at the right point of time. So thank you, GEC, thank you, CET and MES for arranging this, all the student branches. So let's hear to our esteemed people who are here and also the esteemed chairperson, and see what is that we need to take away from this particular session from the speakers. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Let us commence the first session of HERA with the talk event, Make Ready for Masters, a general guide to pursue masters abroad. Joining us today as our speaker for the session, we have engineer Gokul Krishnan. Gokul Krishnan is currently a first-year master's student in Energy Science, Technology and Policy program with a concentration in Electronics and Communication Engineering at Carnegie Mellon University, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. He obtained his undergraduate degree in Electrical and Electronics Engineering at the College of Engineering, Trivandrum. He had previously worked at ABB as an associate project engineer, working on flexible AC transmission systems in the power quality business. Accompanying Mr. Gokul, we have Dr. 𝗵𝗂𝗶𝘀𝗵𝗂𝗶, who is presently working for Torc Robotics at Blacksburg. He attained his PhD in Mechanical Engineering Tech, Blacksburg, back in 2019. His interests and works in the field of advanced mechatronics, mobile robots, and associated subjects of mechanical engineering has shaped his career journey effectively. With their enviable knack and experience, Mr. Gokul, along with Dr. 𝗵𝗂𝗶𝗀𝗂𝗏, will enlighten us on how to start our journey and mold our aspirations of pursuing higher studies abroad. With that, we wholeheartedly welcome both of you here today, sir, and over to you now.
Thank you, Karthik. Shall I share my screen?
Please do so.
Okay, let me know when you can see it.
Yes, it's visible.
Okay. So good morning, everyone. And thank you, Disha ma'am, for the warm welcome. And thank you, Mr. Robin, for your kind words. And thank you, Karthik, as well, for the introduction. So I'm really happy to be back here and like volunteering for IEEE and IEEE RAS. And I really enjoy that. So I think about me, I think you have already heard it like 2 times now, so I don't need to go into that. So I'll just mention my interests. Like my interests are energy in general, power systems, and blockchain. And I find that like my program has a lot to offer on these fronts, and that is the reason why I chose it. So like I think most of you will be having like a question on how to start preparing for this like journey. And initially, when I started this, it felt like a really uphill task. Like it was climbing a like huge mountain because I didn't know like what obstacles would be on the way. So I think where you want to start from is like make a list of reasons why you would like to do an MS. And it can be anything like it can be like you want to explore one particular area, something that you found interesting in undergrad studies. It might be something that you found in your project, or it can be something like going to an international university and exploring your options there, and maybe like visiting new places. So all these things could be your reasons. And the next thing is like take your time to do your research about the universities and courses offered. So like as Mr. Robbins said, like you don't do your MS like more than 2 times. So it's really important that you choose the right university and the right course. So it might be a bit confusing because like there are a lot of universities to choose from and courses. So I would suggest that you like make a list of like maybe 8 to 9 universities, and you can just categorize them. Like some can be ambitious, some can be moderate, and some can be like safe universities. So that's what I did. I had like 2 or 3 universities as safe universities, which I thought like I could definitely get into, and some were like moderate universities where I had a good chance of getting into, and I had like 2 or 3 universities in my ambitious list as well. So I would suggest that you do the same, so you like have a split of the risk. And regarding the courses offered, so that is something I found really interesting because most universities have a lot of courses for the same like department or subject that you want. So it is best that you go through the university website and try to understand what courses they offer. And like there might be some courses that are really like catering to interest. So it's best that you find those. And the next one is going through the placement data. So like most university websites, they have like the placement data for the particular program that you're applying to. So it is best that you go through that. And since like some of us would be funding our studies from loans, and so it is really important that you find the return of investment. So if you are finding a like well-paying job from that particular program, then you can just compare that with like how much you're investing, like your tuition and your living expenses. So find all those things and like be planned for all the financial kind of things. And so the next one is, are scholarship opportunities available? So this is something that you can check with the admissions committee, or like check with the universities during the admission time if they're offering any scholarships. And there are also other opportunities like teaching assistantships, research assistantships, and I can talk about that later on. And the next one, that is the most important thing I would say, is finding people on LinkedIn. So LinkedIn is a really great tool, and you can actually find a lot of people who have like graduated from the university and are studying at the university from LinkedIn. So I would suggest that go to LinkedIn, just type in the name of the university like that you're interested in, and there'll be always an alumni section in that. And there you can just type keywords like robotics or energy or anything that you want, and you can just find people who have graduated and like working, or like who are still doing their masters, and get connected with those people. And what I found really interesting is that like most people that I contacted, they were like always ready to help. And like I actually got like a lot of contacts and numbers, and I got into calls with them before applying and even after applying. So it is really good that you start early and like get connected with people and make a really well-informed decision about this. So coming on to the application timeline. So this is actually a typical timeline for a fall application. So in US, we have spring and fall. So spring starts by like Jan, and like the fall semester starts by August. So so I'm doing the fall program. And so this is what a typical timeline looks like. And so you decide on the college by Jan or February. But I would say that even if you take time till May or June to do this, it's fine, because it's deciding on a university, you need to do it before like you start the SOP or statement of purpose. And then you need to start preparing for like the tests, GRE and TOEFL. But the thing is, recently many universities have like waived off GRE, and I can share a link as well later on, like on list of universities which have waived off. And so when you're visiting the university websites and checking on your programs, what you can do is you can check the requirements. And if GRE is not required, then there is no need to send them the GRE scores. And GRE is actually a good way to compensate for a few other things in your profile, but I'll come back to that in later. So after GRE and TOEFL, once you have prepared for it and you give it by June or July, you can start working on your SOP. So the statement of purpose is actually a document that describes like why you actually want to do the program, and it describes your background basically. And writing a good SOP would take a lot of time, because you have to actually have specific resumes for like each program that you're applying to and each university. So I would say that you start this really early by June, and make sure that you talk with your like already graduated students and like the ones who are doing their program right now. So you'll get a good idea of what they included and like what would be a good thing to include in the SOP. And like it's mentioned here, you have to keep revising it until you reach a optimum point. And something else that you need when you're applying is your transcript. So transcript is just like a mark sheet, like you have all your grades in that. So that is something that is required when you're applying. So make sure that you like check with universities, your university before applying, that you get the transcript on time. It might take maybe like 2 or 3 weeks to get that. And sending the transcripts, I think mostly now they are accepting like online transcripts. So I send my transcript like through mail. So that wasn't a problem. And like I had to submit the hard copy once I was here. So just check with the university on like what is the medium that they want, like if they want it through mail or like if you can send a soft copy. And resume is something that is not always required, but I would advise that you keep it updated and like make sure it reflects your current profile. And the next step would be like getting the letter of recommendations. So if you're studying right now, you can get your like a recommendation from your professors. Just talk to them. You can just work with them on how they would like to do it. If you need to prepare a draft for it and submit it to them, or like, so this would actually take some time. So make sure you contact your professors much earlier so that it wouldn't be an inconvenience for them. And you talk about like what you would like, what university you're applying for and like what program it is, and like and get in touch with them as early as possible, because if you wait till the last minute, there are chances that you might face some difficulties. And the LOs are usually probably sent to the university directly, so you won't be having access to them. So the professor has to send it directly to the university email ID. And so the last step is applying, of course. So usually for fall, the deadline would be somewhere around October, November, or December. And if you check your university websites, you can find that some universities have like 2 cycles, and you can actually apply for the, it'll be always best to apply for the first cycle, because there are good chances of getting in depending on your profile. So do check that and make sure that you don't miss the deadline. And coming on to profile, I would say that what you can include in the SOP is you can include your interest and why you want to do the program. And you can move on to your academics, like if there are some particularly interesting courses that you had and you perform well. And then you can include your projects and publications if you have any. So what US universities do is they have a holistic approach. So you don't have to be like really good at one particular thing. And it is always better to have a well-rounded profile. So like what I was telling earlier, so if you have a GPA maybe below 8 or something, so GRE can be a good way to compensate for it. And if GRE is weed off, then like, yeah, you have to like have good, better GPA. And TOEFL, probably, I think most universities need like a basic TOEFL score. I think it's not that hard to get a good TOEFL score. You can just practice for 2 to 3 weeks and you can do well in that exam. For GRE, it might take a bit more time because there is a specific pattern to the exam. So it has both quant and verbal sections. And I think quant will be much easier for like us engineers, but the verbal section, you might need to do a bit of practice because sometimes the questions are a bit confusing. And if you haven't done much practice, it might be a bit hard. And you also need to build up your vocabulary for that exam. I think that's most of the part for application, and probably we can discuss more about it when I get some questions. So what are the benefits of doing a master's? So I would say that the reason I choose US is because of the world-class universities, and most of the Forbes 500 companies are here at the US. So you have a good chance of working at those. And there's a diverse culture. So I was really amazed to see that almost more than 70% of the students here are international students. And it's really interesting. And in US, you have lots of places to visit. Like even nearby, I have a lot of like parks and where I can go for trekking. And in the weekend, always there is something happening. And talking about my university, it's like a really research-oriented university. So there are a lot of opportunities where you can like collaborate with professors. And every like course that I'm taking almost has a project. So it's kind of like I had to do the project for the like as part of my curriculum for each of the courses. So it's really interesting the way of learning here is. And the next question is, so how hard is it? So I would say that this depends on the program and university. So there is like if you go through your course like in the university website, you can see that like what are the requirements, or like you'll probably find a handbook which like what you'll be doing in the course. So you can actually find like what all subjects are available to take in the university as well. And I would say that if you are really interested in a program or course, please go through the subjects as well on what like courses that you can take. And you can also come across like professors who are working on like interesting research work. So those things you can actually include in your SOP as well. Like if you have like a professor like that is working on a really interesting thing and you're also interested to work with him, you can just include that in your SOP, and that like shows how much you are interested in the program. And for the learning part, like there are lots of assignments, homeworks, projects, presentations. So you'll be like fully packed. And the next thing is like it's really important that you manage your time well, because there's always extracurricular stuff going on at the university and like during weekends. So it's really important that you manage your time really well. And the next thing is the people here, they are really helpful. So what I found important is that you talk to people if there is something, like you talk to your professors, you talk to your peers, and because there's always a solution for your questions, and there are people who went through the same thing as you, and they are always ready to help. And the next thing is forming good bonds and networking. So from the first day I reached here, the thing I have been hearing is like applying for internships and jobs later on. So from the first day, we have been told to like prepare our resumes and keep everything ready and start applying for internships right now, because it's a really competitive environment as well. And I wouldn't say it's like really hard to get internships, but you need to start early and like start networking. And last but not least, don't forget to have fun, because you are here to have a bit of fun as well. So I had like a good time going through a football game, which was funded by my university. Like the tickets were funded, and like there are a lot of stuff happening. Like we're gonna have Halloween coming, so we'll be having some parties and about that. And we went for some trekking trips. And at university, you always have some social events happening, because how it works here is like there are a lot of groups at the university, and like they cater to different people from different parts of the country, or like different parts of the world. So there's always something happening, and like have fun. So that's all I had. Thank you, everyone. And I think we can move on to the questions. Do we have something in the chat?
I believe we can move on to the question answer segment. Participants, you may feel free to post your queries in the chat box. To handle this session along with Sir, I invite Swati from the IEEE RAS Kerala chapter student team.
Yes, the participants can post your queries.
Yeah, I see a question regarding GRE scores. So there is no minimum scores like in the US, unless it is posted on the university website that you can check. So what they are looking at is your like overall profile. So I would say that there is no minimum GRE score. You can actually talk with like people who have got into CMU, and you'll get like idea of about like how much score they had, and probably you can figure out from there.
So then we have the question, do LOs have to be from senior professors at IITs?
There is no such thing. Like if you have done your undergrad from CET, then you can get your like LOs from professors at CET. So there's nothing like you have to get your LOs from like someone from IIT or something like that. You can get it from someone you're familiar with, someone you have worked with, like someone you have taken classes from, and can give a good feedback about you.
So is it good to directly go for masters after BTech, or can we go for some works in the halfway?
I would say that is actually a personal decision that you need to take, because for me, like I had it in my mind from my second year that I need to work for 2 years to understand what the industry is like. But after coming here, what I understood, there are people from like who are directly coming from undergrad as well. So it is actually a personal preference. So if you prefer to like learn a bit more about the industry and like how stuff is happening, so I would say like you go for work maybe 1 or 2 years and then go for studies. Otherwise, you can directly go from your undergrad as well. It wouldn't be a problem.
Yeah, thank you, sir. So what's the reason that you choose for energy science for masters?
Okay, so the reason I chose my program is because it's a really interdisciplinary program, and I can actually take classes from any of the engineering departments here, and I can take courses from the School of Computer Science, and I have an inclination towards like distributed energy resources and blockchain. So I thought like this program could actually give me a platform to work on like interdisciplinary stuff and like take courses from different departments that would actually complement my career path.
Yeah. So are research internships necessary to get into a university like CM?
I think Biju can also help with this question, because from my point of view, research is actually a good point for getting into universities. And if you have done some research in like the particular program that you're interested in, that would definitely be a plus for that.
Yes, Dr. Biju, you too can add.
Oh yeah, Gokul, you're doing an awesome job in answering all of the questions. I'm just here in like a supporting capacity. In terms of research internships, I've met a lot of colleagues here at Virginia Tech and at other universities who have done like one or summer internships or anything similar, either at IITs or some CSIR research labs. It's good in the sense that it'll give you something to add to your research profile. I wouldn't say it's a must-have, it's a good to have. Does that answer your question? I hope so.
Yes, yes.
So is it really hard for someone with a low GPA to get into the masters? And how can the practical side of someone's knowledge help him in doing the masters?
So like I said, like universities have a more holistic approach. So even if you're lacking a bit in your GPA, if you have some stuff to show that like you have done some really interesting projects or some publications, or even the GRE score, that is one of the factors. So if you can build a, like or show a good holistic profile, then I think that is sufficient. You don't need to have like really good GPAs to get into like good universities.
And I think Gokul already touched on this point. Like when you apply to a US university, they don't just look at your GPA. They look at your GRE scores. They look at your TOEFL scores. They also look at your statement of purpose, SOP. You can write a really good statement of purpose, which shows that you're passionate about doing research in a specific area, or that you have actually done some work in that area. That might actually make your application stand out from someone else's application, which has better GPA than yours.
Yeah, thank you, sir. So, and then can the LOR be from companies where we have worked as interns, or is it to be only from the professors?
Yes, it can be from like one of your managers or someone who has guided you. So it can be from the place you have worked from or from the professors. I just gave an option. So.
So could you give some tips on how to write a research paper?
Okay, so I mean, I had a publication, but it was not actually a real research paper. But I want to have a publication. That's why I did it. I actually did something where I like analyzed the available data, put it in a good form, and I had an idea on like implementing something new. So I tried to like show that in the paper, and you could probably like have a look at like different papers that are published, and like maybe even someone at your university might have done it. So you can just talk with them and see how they did it, or get some advice from your professors as well. And actually IEEE is a good platform to do that.
So how can we, profile of somebody be evaluated based on the internships he has done or the scores in his undergraduate program?
Actually, we don't know like how they are evaluating the profiles. So what we can actually do is talk to people who have like got into the universities, and that will probably give a better idea of like what profile is expected. But it's not like you need to have like the same profile or like something like that. So your profile might be different, and maybe it's something that they're looking for, then you can get in.
Thank you, sir. So could you be able to share some insights about doing MS in robotics domain at Germany or Canada, keeping aside the language barrier for Germany?
I think probably that will be a best for the evening session.
Yeah, thank you,
Or
sir.
maybe if Bijo, you want to add something?
I think it will be better for the evening session, just based on talking to friends who have done a master's from Canada or Germany. I think there are better job opportunities in the United States as compared to Canada or Germany. There are many different aspects, like if you want to like continue staying in the country where you did your master's, it might be easier as compared to like being in the US, where you have to get a work visa and there are additional hurdles that you have to go through. But in terms of actual master's coursework, I think it's comparable. It's just what comes after your master's that might be very much different in the other countries as compared to United States.
Thank you, sir. So what MTech or MS course can somebody take if he's from a computer science background?
So I would say like you need to have a look at the universities that you are interested in. Their website has a lot of information that you need for like, and you can also talk to with like the admission, like there'll be a mail that is there, and probably they can connect you with people. And again, LinkedIn is a good option. You can actually find a lot of people who have done their like masters from that particular university. You can check with them regarding the program and get an idea about it.
Thank you, sir. Now, one of our participants have raised his hand. I think he can unmute his mic and ask the query. Anshuman, you may please unmute your mic.
Hello, good morning, ma'am. Ma'am, actually, I am doing a BTech from Robotics department, and I'm trying to do a master for artificial intelligence with robotics. So, can a course available in US for this department, ma'am?
I didn't get the last part of your question.
Pardon, sir?
I did not get the last part that you mentioned. You said you were interested in doing artificial intelligence.
Sir, actually, I am interested in artificial intelligence with robotics. So, is there any university give this type of course in US?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you'll find a lot of universities offering courses in related domains in the United States and in other countries. Yeah. Answer is yes. A lot of universities.
Sir, actually, will you give me a university name, because I try many times to search this type of course relative to university, but I didn't get it, sir.
I would say you can.
Yeah,
actually, sir, robotics means give course like robotics and artificial separate, not combine. I want to combine course.
I think I can't answer that directly, but I think you can go for a robotics course, and like you have like a lot of electives that you can choose from, and you can align your program in such a way that like artificial intelligence is a big part of your program. That's something you can do, and like you can also get into some research work with any of the professors.
Okay, sir.
Yeah, many participants have asked questions regarding the masters from specific countries, and I think that would be apt for today's evening session. So how good it would be to join an online master's course, considering these days situation?
I would suggest no, because it wouldn't match the in-person experience that you would get, and it will have its limitation, of course. And if possible, I would always say to go in person. And the COVID is not a big thing in US. That's something I found when I reached here. It was completely different from what we had in Kerala, because it was like just getting out of a jail. So you can just see that in US they don't have that much restrictions as in Kerala. Life is almost normal here. You just have to wear a mask. That's it. The hard part would be like getting a visa and stuff right now, but I think that is also getting normalized, so I wouldn't worry much about that.
And sir, how would already having a master's from KTU would support getting into doing another master's?
I can't completely answer that question, but my suggestion would be that if you can have a good SOP, then that shouldn't be a problem. And probably you might face some questions during the visa as well. Why do you want to do a second master's? So just be prepared for that. Like if you have a good reason, then it should be fine.
Thank you, sir. So could you please speak on the fee structure and the living expenses in US?
So that would be something that varies from state to state. So I would like advise you to get go on to the university website, and it is clearly mentioned that like you can see the fee structure and the expected living expenses. So all these things you have to do it like before you apply for a visa as well. So just do that earlier.
And thank you, sir. There is a question I think most students are having these days. Due to the pandemic, the students are not exposed to the labs and workshops. So is there any advice to compensate this problem, especially for a research-based program?
I would say there are a lot of online courses available. I would suggest that you do that. And there are some courses where you can do some projects as well. So that is also something you can look into. And I think universities also understand the situation is like a bit hard. And if you like can explain like what you did and like during the COVID time, and you have a good reason to justify that, then I think it should be fine.
Yeah, thank you, sir. So the next question is, if someone published journals in platforms like RSP Science Hub, is it worth mentioning in the SOP?
I would say have a look at the impact of that particular portal or like journal, and if that is like one of the main things that you have done, then include it. I don't think it should be a problem. But if you have better things to show in your like application, then I think you can avoid that as well.
So is publishing a paper mandatory?
No, it's not mandatory. It's just something that like helps you with your profile, like I told earlier. It's just a holistic approach. So as long as you have a good profile with other things, then you can just masters.
So do you think that there is an optimum time break between a bachelor's and master's degree?
I think that's a personal choice. Like if you want to take a break from studies and want to work a bit, then you can do that and maybe go for a master's maybe after 2 years when you feel so. So that is again a personal choice. If you want to go from undergrad to grad studies directly, that is also fine. It's a personal choice.
Thank you, sir. So would you be able to give an advice on which courses to be taken if somebody has done his bachelor's in mechanical engineering and now he wants to switch into the robotics domain?
I think Bijay, you can take that.
I'll take that. Some things that I wish I had paid more attention to while I was doing my bachelor's in mechanical, or things that I had to pay attention to after I finished my bachelor's in mechanical. If you want to get into robotics, pay attention to improving your programming skills. This is not specific to just mechanical engineering. If you're from electrical, electronics, computer science, if you're going into robotics, make sure your programming skills are good. Pay attention to the math papers that are being taught. Improve your math skills. I wish I had done a better job at studying math during my bachelor's as well as before that. That is one thing that I struggled with during my master's as well as during my PhD. Other than that, the only final thing that I would say is just figure out what interests you. If you're going towards like controls or dynamics, pay attention to that. If you're going towards machine learning, after that, it's just a matter of which areas you want to go into as a specialization. But math and programming, I would say, should be basic.
Excuse me, sir. Sir, can we suggest me how to get a MIT or a master?
The application process for most of the universities in the US is pretty much the same. You have to go through GRE, you have to go through TOEFL, unless some of them have been waived due to the pandemic situation. You have to get a statement of purpose. You have to have your transcripts, and you have to have your letter of recommendation. In terms of differences between universities, it's just their standards. MIT being one of the best in the world and the best in United States will have very high standards. So your scores would have to be high, your GPA would have to be high, your statement of purpose would have to be very well written.
Sir,
So the process itself is the same. Yeah.
Sir, how many research paper needed, sir?
That's a very subjective question. It depends on all of the other factors in your application as well. If everything else is really good, maybe you just need one publication. If you're lacking in the other aspects, you probably need like a journal to make sure that your application stands better than the other applicants.
Actually, sir, I have done one research paper, sir, but in national journal. Sir, is it okay, or sir, I write a research paper in international journal, sir?
If you can get an international journal, definitely go for it. That's always better than having a national conference or a national journal. And yeah, that would actually put your application stand better as compared to the other applicants.
Okay, sir, thank you.
So can I go with the next question?
Yeah, go for it.
So what exactly are transcripts and what do they convey about the applicants?
Transcript is nothing, it's just your mark list. Like it has all the grades that you have from your first semester to 8th semester. That's all. There's nothing else on the transcript.
So can you talk about the fee structure and living expenses in US?
Yeah, so that's like I said, that depends on the university and state that you're applying to. So if you're looking at something like California, then the living expenses are going to be really high. And the fee structure that you can find it in the university website. So they have it for like they revise it probably for on a yearly basis. So you can find the latest fee structure on the university websites. And they also have the living expenses as well. Like you can find a expected set of living expenses, but you can probably talk with someone who has graduated or like studied there to get a more better idea about what it is actually, because probably it will be much lesser than what is shown on the websites.
Sorry, is there any website to compare the universities for the courses except by CS rankings?
I think there are a lot of rankings available like QS, like the Times. So you can check any of those rankings to get an idea, but make sure that you check for like engineering or like some of the like what courses you are going to do for, rather than the overall ranking of the university, because that contains many other factors as well. And for US, I think there is a site for finding US rankings as well. You can go for that. But a ranking is not the main thing. You can have a list of other factors as well for when you're selecting a university. Probably it might not be the best ranked university that fits your profile. Maybe there is something interesting happening in your like field of work that is happening at some other university. So make sure you go through the university website.
Yes, thank you, sir. So as we are going to wind up the session, I request the participants, if you have any queries, you may ask. So will the college ranking affect the career opportunity after masters?
So that's actually a good question. So universities like if you're at a higher rank university, probably they have like a bit more alumni who can connect with you, or they have better resources also. So that can be a subjective thing, but usually the college ranking is not a big factor after you graduate, because companies are looking at people with skills, and if you have the skills, you'll get hired.
So how can you get the SOP fine-tuned? Is it only the option? Is the agencies the only option for this?
I would say that getting in touch with people is a good way to do it as well. So if you find someone like through LinkedIn, you connect with them and like you talk about the university, and you can also check with them if they are willing to have a look at your SOP or make suggestions. And also you can contact like seniors from your college who are doing a master's right now. So probably they'll be also interested to help you. So agencies are one option, but I don't think agencies are a good option. Probably they would correct the grammar and mistakes like those, but I don't think they will help you frame a SOP, or they would be like doing all the work for you, because you have to do that.
Thank you, sir. Now I request all the participants that if you have any more queries, you may please post them in our feedback form, which so that the queries will be resolved via the WhatsApp group or via email. Thank you, sir. Thank you for spending your good time with us. And now over to Karthik.
Thank you.
Thank you, Swati. Thank you, Mr. Gokul and Dr. Bijal for that edifying talk combined with the Q&A segment. I'm confident that your words of illumination and direction will shape the decisions of all our participants at a later stage when deciding on how and where to study abroad. Once again, thank you, speakers. I believe the Q&A segment has brought a lot of clarity to most our minds on the subject of higher education, the extra steps required to refine our skills to go abroad, and definitely in the fields of robotics and automation. However, if you have any more queries, do join our evening session today, where we will be having a panel discussion on the same subject. Before we wrap things up, I kindly request all attendees to switch on their camera for a group picture with Sir. Participants, feel free to switch on your camera. Thank you, participants. Participants, please note the link to the feedback form will be made available in the chat box. I request all the attendees to kindly fill the form. Before we conclude this session, I would like to call upon the chairperson of RAS chapter, part of IEEE GEC Thrissur, Ashwin Rajesh, to deliver the vote of thanks.
Thank you, Karthik. Very distinguished resource person of the session, Engineer Gokul Krishnan. It is my pleasure to thank you for presenting us with such a wonderful session that drove us into the insights of the spectacular opportunities in the field of higher education in robotics and automation. You have given a great deal of insights into the application process, and I'm sure that the tips and experience that you have shared with us will help a lot of the attendees tackle the daunting task of preparing for their masters abroad. On behalf of IEEE RAS Kerala chapter and the student branch chapters of GC Thrissur, CT Trivandrum, and MES College of Engineering, and everybody else present here, we extend our heartfelt gratitude to you. As a token of our appreciation and gratitude, we would like to present you with a virtual memento. Thank you, Engineer Gokul Krishnan. Next, I would like to thank Dr. 𝗵𝗂𝗏 𝗵𝗀 for spending his valuable time with us to clear our doubts and sharing your experience. As a token of our appreciation and gratitude, we present you with a virtual memento. Thank you, Dr. 𝗵𝗂𝗏 𝗵𝗀. Let me now take a moment to extend our gratitude to the chairperson, Dr. 𝗘𝗧 VR, and vice chairperson, Engineer Robin Tommy, and all other professional ExCom members of the IEEE RAS Kerala chapter for hosting this great event that has indeed benefited all the attendees. Next, a great thanks to all the IEEE RAS student branch leads and student volunteers who have stood as an interminable support, working hard behind the scenes to make this event possible. Thank you all. Last but most importantly, thank you to all the attendees for a valuable presence and enthusiastic participation that has boosted the atmosphere of the event. We hope that you all had a great time. Once again, I want to state that we are all very grateful to all the speakers on the stage. We thank you for being with us this fine morning. Thank you all.
Right, Ashwin, thank you. We finally come to the end of today's first session, part of HERA. The second session, part of this event, will be held today at 7 p.m., which would be a discussion on higher education in robotics and automation, involving 6 distinguished panelists, as mentioned by Jisha ma'am earlier. We highly recommend all participants to attend the second session to widen their view on the same and to attain completion. Until then, stay safe. Thank you for attending, and good day.